Let's begin now.
Entre-SLAM is a great idea. I love the energy and the vibe.
We are going to bring up our first storyteller.
Oh, for sure.
Our last storyteller for the judging in competition. Please welcome David Silver of Detroit Horsepower. Come on up, tell us a story.
Good evening. After teaching elementary school in Detroit for 2 years, I began my journey into social entrepreneurship with Detroit Horsepower. This is a nonprofit I started to expand opportunities for kids in the city and eventually have year-round programs at a new urban equestrian center that will be built on repurposed vacant land. And this came about because horses were a really important part of my childhood. It really makes a lot of sense to me because horses have research-based therapeutic effects with at-risk youth and the ability to transform the burden of vacant land into a community asset. We plan to offer horse boarding and equestrian event businesses that reduce our fundraising need and foster greater cross-community engagement. And that's the pitch that I tend to give, and I think it's a pretty good one, but I appreciate the opportunity to share with you, to be vulnerable tonight here at Entre-SLAM. Everything that I said is true. Horses played a profound role in shaping who I am today. I've been horseback riding since I was 10 years old, and I've loved so many of those experiences. I've loved the bond I've had, especially with my horse, Rush, and being able to set goals and work hard to achieve them. Been able to travel and compete from Ocala, Florida, to Chicago, to Montreal, and work for Olympian Boyd Martin, and I still stay in touch with him to this day. This was all made possible because of my parents. My mom grew up with a yearning for horses, but her passion was not shared at home. And I know that she wanted to make sure that access to these amazing animals was always available to me and my sister, no matter the cost. So much was given to me, but not necessarily the things that I needed. Reflecting back on my childhood, things that cost money ended up being a surrogate for nurturing and knowing us as kids. My parents were busy and had their own issues to deal with, and I think they believed that as long as I was financially provided for, the world would be open to me and I could pursue anything I dreamed. And that's partially true. My international equestrian competitions and Ivy League education and financial security are all privileges that have led to the exciting place that I and Detroit Horsepower are at today. But they rest on an insecure foundation. I've struggled with an overwhelming social anxiety for a very long time. And to give you just one example, our family never ate meals together. We had a nanny who would cook dinner, and my sister and I would eat in front of the TV by ourselves, and our parents would eat sometime later on separately. In high school, it was deeply uncomfortable eating meals around my peers, so much so that I would end up bringing a sandwich into class to eat despite a free period at lunchtime. I really struggled socially. I had no strong friendships, whether at school or at the horse barn. And you might think that the barn would have been my place of refuge, that grounding force in an uneasy adolescence. But to be perfectly honest, my horseback riding experience was always tied to my parents. Running a treadmill, a subconscious treadmill, trying to receive their validation and affection. Horses couldn't bring me what I needed because what I needed was within. After freshman year of college, I took a long break from horses, and that created a lot of tension in my relationship with my mother because I had severed our only common thread. Moving to Detroit was also a big surprise. But that also gave me the space and incredible mentors to unpack and wrestle with these experiences. That process continues to this day and will be part of my journey for the rest of my life. But part of that journey is coming back to horses in a way that's important to me, on my own terms. I hope that I'll be able to offer Detroit's youth the same kinds of opportunities that I have in one sense, the bond with horses, learning valuable skills and traveling and competing and reaching their goals. But in a deeper sense, this mission is a foreign one to me, because the sense of empowerment and belonging that I hope to give our kids in Detroit is what I was missing growing up. So my deepest hope for Detroit Horsepower is for a kind of mutual healing. I think about my former students like Xavier, who at the age of 10 explained to me that he was running with a gang because those are the only kids in his life who would play football with him. To see Xavier this past August in our Detroit Horsepower Pilot Summer Camp doing amazing things with horses, it helps me see a future where he can be a part of a community of mentors and his peers that give him the love and the support that he so desperately needs, and that I need as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Let's hear it once again for all of our storytellers tonight. This is, as you've noticed, this is really hard to do, to come up here and lay it all out there. We'll start over here on my left and your right with the judging of David Silver.
Very brave story, David. Thank you for really telling a story. The one thing I would say, and now you can play your drinking game, is you could have started just with the story. Just start with the story. Just tell us about your journey and where you've ended up, because where you've ended up is really cool. And we have a sense of what your purpose is and why you're doing it. And I think you communicated it really, really well. It was just very honest and a terrific story. So congratulations. I think it was terrific.
David, that was perfect, and I gave you perfect scores. So it was a very powerful story, and I just felt, and I sense your motivation for what you're doing down there. I too grew up with a horse, and I understand, the bond that can be formed between a young boy and a horse, and I hope you can make that come true for the Detroit youth also.
Well, it's not nice. You've made people cry. I've seen there are people here crying, David, from your story.
My sister's here tonight, so
She's
I
not the one.
really appreciate her.
She's not the one crying, man. Yeah. I'm gonna disagree with Daniel a little bit. I thought that the first part of the story, telling about your business, was great. I was about to mark you down a few points because, whatever. It's more of a pitch. There's nothing emotional there. And then you bust it out with, the second part. Which was pretty cool. And you managed to, I think, tell the story without being whiny or, you know what I mean? You just genuinely expressed your emotions and kind of how these things affected you. And you tied it in very nicely to how you're actually taking what you missed sorely, and that's what you're trying to provide to these kids. And I think that's pretty cool. I think you started great with who, what, why, very specifically. You just laid it out, gave us the umbrella with your business, and then tied it all together with your story. So, nicely done.
Can I just briefly